Hello everyone, I'm Professor Lee of Aging Longevity and Herbal Medicine TV. Today, let's talk about why our body's cleaning system, autophagy, becomes weak and dysfunctional, and why everyday habits like overeating, excess nutrition, and late-night meals are the biggest culprit. Autophagy is the process that gathers all protein, damaged mitochondria, and cellular waste, then break them down and recycle them back into usable energy. Every living organism on Earth that must eat to survive has evolved these remarkable self-renewal mechanisms. When autophagy works well, aging slows down, inflammation drops, immunity strengthens, and metabolic health becomes more stable. But modern lifestyle patterns quietly weaken this powerful system. Chronic overeating, constant snacking, and eating late at night send the wrong signals to your cells, and the result is a dramatic slowdown in your body's natural repair and regeneration. The first reason autophagy breaks down is nutrient excess. So when does the body actually turn autophagy on? Only when there is a signal of energy shortage, when the body sends a true fasting state. But in modern life, that fasting signal almost never appears. Most people start the day with coffee and bread, eat a full lunch, snack in the afternoon, overeat at dinner, and then add alcohol or late-night food before bed. In other words, the body stays in a state of constant nutrient overload. When this happens, your cells say, food keeps coming in, this is not the time to clean, I'll deal with it later. As a result, autophagy shuts down, waste begins to accumulate inside the cells, and the aging process speeds up. Frequent blood sugar spike and repeated insulin surges make these things worse. They keep activating mTOR, the signal that turns autophagy off. Nutrient excess is one of the most powerful ways to damage your autophagy capacity. The second major reason is overeating. Overeating is not just about feeling full. From the cell's point of view, it's a flood of unmanageable waste. When too many calories, too much proteins, or too many carbohydrates arrive at once, mitochondria are forced to work non-stop. This overwork generates more reactive oxygen species and damages cellular compounds. Normally, autophagy would clean and repair those damaged parts, but during overeating, the autophagy system is already switched up. This leads directly to problems such as fatty liver, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and accelerate aging. The third reason is one of the worst enemies of autophagy, late-night eating. Nighttime is when autophagy becomes most active. While we sleep, our cells slow down, clear out old components, and begin essential repair work. But when flood enters the body right before bed, the digestive system cannot rest. Blood sugar and insulin rise again, and the autophagy switch, which was about to turn on, suddenly shuts up. This stops cellular regeneration throughout the night. Over time, this leads to reduced repair capacity, increased fatigue, and more abdominal fat. Several studies confirm that late-night eating strongly suppresses nighttime fat burning and autophagy signaling. To restore healthy autophagy and slow aging, you must give your cells time to clean. Ideally, avoid all food after 8 p.m. and go to bed with only tea or water. That simple habit alone can dramatically revive your body's repair system. The fourth reason is lack of exercise. Regular aerobic activity increases the protein that activates autophagy and keeps the entire system running smoothly. Whenever muscle contracts, they send strong signals that enhance autophagy in multiple tissues, including the brain, liver, and heart. The fifth reason is chronic stress. When stress becomes persistent, cortisol stays elevated. High cortisol suppresses key proteins that control autophagy. As a result, the cellular cleaning process becomes sluggish and inefficient. Chronic stress not only weakens autophagy, but also accelerates inflammation and metabolic decline. The sixth reason is sleep deprivation. Poor sleep directly suppresses the genes responsible for autophagy. This especially affects neurons, liver cells, and heart muscle cells, tissues that rely heavily on nightly repair. If you combine late-night eating and insufficient sleep, health deterioration, and accelerated aging will progress faster than in almost anyone else. And finally, there's one more reason I want to share: age itself. First, in order for autophagy to start, the cell must sense that energy is low. But as we get older, this energy sensing mechanism becomes weaker. The switch that should activate autophagy simply does not turn on as easily as it used to. Second, the genes that drive autophagy become less active with age. Even if the body needs cleaning, the genetic command to begin autophagy becomes faint. Third, the final step of autophagy relies on a recycle factory inside the cell called the lysosome. Lysosomes use powerful enzymes to break down waste, and these enzymes work only in a strongly acidic environment. But aging gradually weakens the cell's ability to maintain the acidity. As a result, even when autophagy begins, the final cleanup step becomes incomplete and inefficient. Aging is unavoidable. That's why maintaining autophagy becomes even more important in late life. Now, let's talk about the diseases that appear more often in people with weakened autophagy. If you already suffer from these conditions, I strongly recommend combining standard medical treatment with lifestyle strategy that strengthen autophagy. The most obvious outcome is accelerated aging. In previous lectures, we discussed the three major drivers of aging acceleration: DNA damage, telomere shortening, and the accumulation of senescent cells. But here is the key point: even when these forms of cellular damage occur, aging does not accelerate rapidly if autophagy remains strong. Autophagy can clear damaged compounds and prevent cells from becoming dysfunctional. However, if damaged mitochondria are not removed quickly throughout autophagy, senescent cells accumulate at a much faster rate. So, when someone already has high level of DNA damage, shortened telomeres, and many senescent cells, and their autophagic capacity is weak, aging speeds up dramatically. Now, let me introduce two major diseases that are strongly linked to impaired autophagy. If you or a family member is dealing with these conditions, please pay very close attention. 1. Neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. Among all the cells in the human body, neurons are the most vulnerable to autophagy dysfunction. Most cells can divide, repair, and replace themselves when damaged, but neurons are different. Once they mature, they stop dividing. They cannot create new replacement cells. This means that for neurons, survival depends heavily on autophagy. They must constantly remove damaged protein and defective organelles on their own. In fact, when scientists delete autophagy-related genes in mice, abnormal proteins accumulate within just a few weeks. Neurons quickly shrink and die, and the animals begin to show severe behavioral problems. One of the best known pathological features of Alzheimer's is the accumulation of a toxic protein called beta-amyloid inside neurons. Autophagy plays a key role in both producing and clearing beta-amyloid. When autophagy weakens, beta-amyloid removal slows dramatically and toxic buildup accelerates. In Parkinson's disease, the hallmark abnormal protein is alpha-synuclein. When alpha-synuclein misfolds, it clumps together and forms large protein aggregate called Lewy bodies. These aggregates are toxic and they kill the dopamine-producing neurons that control movement, leading to the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Autophagy is responsible for clearing misfolded alpha-synuclein. When autophagy weakens, these toxic proteins accumulate faster and the diseases progress more quickly. If you or someone in your family is in the early stage of dementia or Parkinson's disease, combining standard medical treatment with the autophagy-enhancing method I'll explain in Part 3 and 4 can be extremely important in slowing disease progression. 2. The second group of diseases include metabolic disorders, obesity, fatty liver, and type 2 diabetes. When autophagy becomes weak or dysfunctional, fats are not properly broken down. As a result, fat accumulates in the liver, inflammation rises inside fat cells, insulin resistance develops more easily, and both diabetes and obesity becomes much more likely. In fact, reduced autophagy in liver cells is now recognized as a major driver of fatty liver disease. When lipids inside liver cells cannot be recycled through autophagy, those lipids accumulate, causing liver cell injury and progression to fatty liver. Other conditions strongly linked to impaired autophagy include chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, pulmonary fibrosis, inflammatory bowel disease, kidney fibrosis, aplastic anemia, polycystic ovary syndrome, and various cancers. Research on these connections is rapidly expanding. Before we finish, I want to emphasize one essential point. Protect the time of day when autophagy is naturally most active. Nighttime, during sleep, is the golden window for cellular regeneration and autophagy. But if you go to bed with food in your stomach, that entire regeneration process is turned up. So, remember these simple rules. Eat a proper lunch, keep proper dinner and maintain a 3 to 4 hours fast before going to bed. Just following these two habits can dramatically restore your autophagy capacity. Starting today, try asking yourself, when can I give my body a clean, empty space to repair itself? Let that question guide your eating habits. In part 3, we'll explore powerful ways to enhance autophagy through diet strategy and exercise. Stay tuned, you'll learn practical science-based methods to boost your body's natural regeneration system.